Welcome to Off the Record with Sharon Stewart, featuring the best in rock and the stories behind the sound. Let's go off the record.
Welcome to the podcast. This time on Off the Record, I'm talking with Adrian Vandenberg. We recorded this conversation before Vandenberg's U.S. tour was canceled due to illness, but it's still a great chance to catch up with Adrian and talk music, the band, and what he's been up to. Here's my conversation with Adrian Vandenberg on Off the Record. My Whitesnake Years. Wow.
Yeah.
What made this the right time to celebrate that chapter of your career?
Well, actually, it started the end of last year a little bit because it was 35 years ago that we played the Donington Festival in the 1990 tour. So that was a nice, memorable moment and a great reason to celebrate those 35 years, you know?
Yeah. So 12 years connected to Whitesnake. When you look back, what stands out the most to you?
A combination of how fast it went, you know. We only, let's see, Rudy, Tommy, Vivian and I only rehearsed for about, a couple of days, maybe a week or something. So we only had a set for, I think about 50 minutes or something, because we had no idea it was going to explode like this, and nobody did, as a matter of fact. So the first show was in a Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, and there were more than 100,000 people. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one of the moments where I thought, holy shit, you know, this is pretty serious.
Yeah.
It was blistering hot, so that was definitely one of the things that I still remember that blew me away. And the whole experience, first of all, playing with Tommy and Rudy was really, really cool because, funny enough, with the first Vandenberg tour in 1990, U.S. tour, that is, in 1993, we were a special guest to Ozzy Osbourne, and Tommy was playing in Ozzy band, of course.
Uh-huh.
And in the same tour, when we started headlining, Rudy was supporting Vandenberg with Quiet Riot for a number of shows in California. So I already kind of started to know those guys on a very friendly vibe, you know, and then suddenly you end up in the same band. And it was just such an exciting period when the album And Here We Go Again shot up the charts, and in no time it was number one, you know, and that was one of the things. I said, man, I'm playing guitar on the number one hit in the States, like a Dutch guy, you know. This is very unusual. That never happened, actually. So I was very aware of the fact that I'm a lucky bastard, you know, that because I'm living my passions. I still am.
You know, what's crazy is that, you know, we're still playing the songs. I mean, yeah. You know, when you started cutting that guitar solo for Here I Go Again, did you think we'd be playing it still today in 2026 and on through?
No, and I'm still playing it, you know, in my band. I never would have thought, because I was in the back of the studio working out a guitar part for the verses of Here I Go Again that I re-recorded, and then they said, "Can you throw a solo on it?" I go, "Okay," you know, and great. I always loved the song because when Vandenberg was touring England in 1982, I think, Here We Go Again, in the original version, it was a hit in Europe actually, but especially in England, and it was a slower version, you know, more toned down. Started with John Lord's beautiful Hammond organ, so it had quite a different vibe. But I've always loved that song, so I was quite surprised how it got turned around and ended up on that album, and me being a part of that. It was really fantastic. Yeah.
You know, that's a song that comes into people's heads that, you know, for all kinds of occasions.
It is, you know, you can. It's one of those songs that you can make a country and western version of, or a blues version, or whatever, because it's like a great song is a great song. That's what I always. It's always my thing, you know. Is when I'm writing songs, I'm extremely critical of what I come up with, and I play the next day or the basic idea, and then I play the basic idea next they go, does it excite me,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if not, which part doesn't, and then I start to work on it again. And so sometimes it just happens like that, but other times it's like you're a carpenter, you're
Yeah, it's a process.
chiseling away
Uh-huh.
and kind of moving it around, and then yeah, it's an interesting process.
So your tour, you're bringing in Vinnie Moore and Marco Mendoza. This is a lot of rock history going on stage. How did that happen? How did the lineup come to be?
It's actually we have the same agency.
Oh,
And what's actually happening? I mean, it kind of looks like we're all in the same band, but Marco and Vinny are starting the evening and playing a set that comprehends a bunch of songs of bands they've both been in, and that's quite a number of bands,
mm-hmm.
Marco's been in Journey for a while, and of course with Thin Lizzy,
Right.
and Vinny has been in UFO and Alice Cooper and all that stuff. So they start the set with that, and then me and my band start doing My Whitesnake Years, which is set with all the big ones from My Whitesnake Years.
It's sort of like a celebration of the whole era,
Yeah,
of
exactly.
band rock, I think, right?
You're totally right, and it's just. I mean, it sounds a little bit smarmy, but it's so great to see all these smiles
Mm-hmm.
because we've been doing this also in Holland and in Germany and Scandinavia, and people in the 50s suddenly feel like they're 19 again,
Right.
and including me, because
Yeah.
it takes
Most
me back to
importantly.
the 80s and all those exciting years of Whitesnake. This is great.
Uh-huh. Well, you guys are more important to us as we get older. Just
It's good to
just to see you
know.
guys still rocking. That's so
I've got
important
a
to us.
responsibility.
Yes, got to keep rocking till we can anymore.
Oh
That's how I
yeah,
look at.
yeah, yeah. The same for me. They're gonna have to drag me off stage, kicking and screaming and yelling, because it's what I love to do most by far,
Right.
And also one of the things that I always realize, man, if the Stones can still do it at 82 years old,
Yeah.
I'm basically just getting started.
Right. It's right. And I'm glad that as we get older, and it seems like even the younger generation, they are starting to appreciate our classic rock artists. You guys are
Yes,
like,
it's
yeah, you're like the Beethovens. The
all right. My
generation.
dad would have been proud, and my sister actually is because my sister is a classical piano player.
Uh-huh.
She does concerts and stuff, and all she knows is the classic
Yep.
composers, Beethoven, Bach, Chopin, all those guys. And I
Mm-hmm.
was growing up with the music, but my sister was always practicing, and I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of noodling away on my guitar upstairs and trying to play some Jimi Hendrix. And downstairs, my sister was plowing away on Mozart and Bach and Beethoven and all those guys.
Uh-huh.
But you're right. I think I remember when I was growing up, interviews with the Beatles or the Stones, and those guys would be in their early 20s, and they would ask them questions. Well, by the time you're 30, you're probably going to stop, right?
Yeah,
Because
probably be dead.
yeah, you're too old.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Beatles songs When I'm 64.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
classic, and Paul McCartney singing "When I Get Older, Losing My
Right.
Hair many
Mm-hmm.
years from now," and now he's in his early 80s, and he probably goes, "Man, I'm still playing the song,"
Right. Probably never thought he'd be singing it past
Oh
64.
no, no,
Yeah.
because when you're in your early 20s, 64 is like you're pretty much dead.
Right. Not anymore, man.
No,
Six,
no,
64 is a new 40.
yeah, absolutely,
So,
yeah.
big stages and festivals and crews. So what do you still love about bringing music to rock fans today? Same
Yeah,
principle, huh?
it's the same principle, and it's actually in a way there's an extra element to it that we talked about before.
Hmm.
In those days, you were playing as a 20-something-year-old to 20-something-year-olds,
Yeah.
and the excitement, with girls flashing their boobs and
Uh-huh.
guys going berserk and all that stuff, that changed into like people having huge smiles on their faces and feeling great and remembering those days and feeling
Uh-huh.
young again and all that stuff. And you get this electricity between the band and between the crowd
Hmm.
that is more tangible than it was because it was so much excitement in those days, because it was kind of new.
Yeah.
And now it's still fresh actually what nobody would ever have thought. As far as I think a lot of people, including younger people, are realizing there is not really an alternative to the kind of feeling that you get with hard rock.
Yeah.
And actually, you can see that it's like an instinctive type of thing. If you play some AC/DC or something to a 2-year or 3-year-old toddler, they start bouncing.
Yeah.
They latch
Gets them
onto it. I've
going.
seen it. Yeah, I've seen it numerous times, and I think in the '90s I didn't really get off on the grunge thing because it was really depressing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look as scruffy as possible, and the songs have to be as depressing as possible.
Yeah.
And then a positive vibe came back, and that's so much more to related to rock and roll. When rock and roll started in the '50s, it was a positive thing. People started, the young kids in the '50s and early '50s. That was the first time young kids had their own culture.
Yes.
Before that, the generation of my parents, for instance, jazz for them was basically what rock is for us. But jazz, I remember my parents telling me that their parents said, it was the devil's music because you were not supposed to move to it because it was too sexual and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So actually, you've probably seen that interesting. Kind of funny Irish dance, that river dance type.
Yes.
Yeah, so I found out not too long ago actually that the reason for that is they were, when it came up, people were only allowed by their faith to not move the hips because it was sexual. Below the hips you could move. So that's why they went berserk with the legs.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I read it, a couple of months ago, actually. I thought, wow, that's interesting, I was always wondering, how do you come up with a dance like that,
Wow, I learned something today.
Yeah.
From you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think back then too, I think about when I was growing up listening to rock and roll, and now in my 60s, it's like I don't think we really realized what we had then until now that we're older.
Yeah.
Like this is really seriously art that's going to be here long after we're gone,
Yeah, exactly. I talked to my daughter about it, and she said, "Oh, Dad, I wish it was around in the '80s." And I remember when I was a teenager, the '50s rock and roll came kind of back. The culture. There's hamburger joints that looked like joints in the '50s and all the stuff. And I remember thinking, "Oh man, I wish it was around in the '50s because it was so cool." The rock and roll came up, and everybody was kind of going berserk, because they had their own culture finally, and they grabbed it with both hands. And so right now for teenagers, and look at the '80s, and it was colorful, and it was loud, and it was party time nonstop. And you rightfully said, that's one of the things in life that I always remind myself of is you gotta enjoy them now, because in a number of years from now, we're probably going to think, oh man, that was a great period, 2026, it was great. Yeah, it's always afterwards, like you said, and especially the '80s, I must say, there had never been a time like that,
Right.
But yeah, it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. I feel very privileged, that we were around then.
And you could still talk about it too, and tell
that makes a difference too.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm trying to pass the rock and roll torch down to the next generation. Hopefully it stays lit, especially through shows like yours, bringing back the Whitesnake years, so.
Yeah, it's what you love to do. One of the quotes that I always remind myself with also is I think it was Mick Jagger or something who said it at some point. He said, "You don't choose music; music chooses you," and that's very true because I was actually, after I finished art college, I was an art teacher, an art history teacher at a high school for about a year.
Oh,
And
what?
yeah.
How cool is that? Okay.
Yeah, it was a blast because it was in a separate building, the art department, and
Uh-huh.
I was playing loud rock, the Purple, Led Zeppelin, and all
Oh,
that stuff, and to make the kids and myself feel free and to
uh-huh.
create and stuff. But then after that, I realized, man, I want to see if I can do the music thing because
Entertain, yeah.
yeah, it was always my hobby and my passion, but
Mm-hmm.
trying to make a living in Holland with rock music was impossible. So
Mm.
thanks to my dad, he said, whether you go to music conservatory or to art university, either one is fine by
Mm-hmm.
me. But I want you to get like a license to teach afterwards. So whatever
Just in
happens in the
case.
rest of your life, you can always fall
Yeah.
back
Right.
on a job where you can, make a living with. So
Yeah.
I'm still grateful for that because that's why I never had to make any concessions in
Uh-huh.
music. So I
Right.
just kept playing the rock that I loved, and look,
Mm-hmm.
look where I
Mm-hmm.
am still.
Right. It's still rocking. So I
Yeah,
remember
it
back
is.
in the 80s, the Vandenberg band with Burning Heart.
Yeah, it's. I've been playing it ever since I picked up playing again, which was about 12 years ago, because I laid low for some 10, 11 years
Oh,
to be a part of my daughter's upbringing because
oh.
um, I got this daughter with my then girlfriend at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
the relationship fell apart after a year or three or something. And I thought, man, I barely get to see her. So if I'm gonna start touring again, I'll be one of those dads who sticks his head around the corner every
Mm-hmm.
couple of months and goes, "Hey, I'm your dad, but I gotta go again." I didn't want to do that,
Yeah.
so I really wanted to be a
Oh.
part of her upbringing until I could explain to her
Uh-huh.
what I actually do and what I love to do. So when she was about 11 or 12, I explained it to her, and she thought it was pretty cool because
Yeah.
boys at a school started coming up to her and go, "Oh, I hear your dad is Adrian Vandenberg and he plays electric guitar. Wow,
Uh-huh.
And so for her, it was completely normal.
Oh.
So she thought, oh, it's actually cooler than I thought. Because she heard me noodling away,
Uh-huh.
upstairs in my little studio room.
Uh-huh.
But she thought, oh, yeah, that's something that dads do.
Yeah.
But
Did she?
when the boys in the classroom thought it was cool, she thought, oh, maybe it is cool. I don't know.
Does she have any of your musical talent? Does she have an interest in music at all?
Oh yeah. She's a big interest in music.
Mm.
I took her to piano lessons for a number of years, but she had the wrong teachers. They weren't
Mm.
motivational.
Hmm.
So she kind of stopped. I'm always hoping that she's going to pick it up again because she had a feeling for it.
Yeah.
But she's a big fan. She goes to anything from Youngblood to the Stones.
Right.
She loves everything that
Uh-huh.
she grew up with, but also the new stuff.
Right. That's how the new generation is too. They're more eclectic, I think.
Yeah,
They'll swing from this to that in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I always think it has a lot to do with YouTube because
Yes. Yes.
I had at least 2 or 3 times where kids from friends of mine came up to me and said, "Oh, Uncle Adrian, I discovered this really great artist," and I go, "Oh, great!
Uh-huh.
What is it?" And they said, "A new artist." They said.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Yeah, he's called Bob Marley."
Oh.
And I said, "Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the guy passed away
Yeah,
years
he's
ago."
dead.
Yeah, and they don't know, so they get into it
Uh-huh.
totally unprogrammed, and they decide, I like this stuff. What is it?
Right. Right.
And then it could be Deep Purple or Zeppelin or Bob Marley or God knows
Mm-hmm.
what from previous times, and that doesn't pre-program their
Right.
mind in that
Right.
respect.
And it doesn't bias them, oh, that's old.
Yeah,
I don't want it.
exactly. Yeah, that's how it is.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's the thing, it's new to them, so we have to keep
yeah,
sharing our
absolutely.
music
Yeah,
and
yeah. We'll keep
turning them on to it.
yeah, passing the torch.
Well, keep rocking, Adrian. Keep rocking.
Definitely.
And we'll see you
Yeah, you
then.
won't get rid of me very easily.
Right. Well, thanks so much for talking to me, Adrian. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Thank you. Well, likewise.
My thanks to Adrian Vandenberg for spending some time with me. Again, this interview was recorded before the U.S. tour was canceled, and we certainly wish Adrian and the band well and hope to see them back out there soon. Thanks for listening to the podcast. And if you're in a band and you'd like to be featured on the podcast, reach out to me at Sharon@7mountainsmedia.com. I'm Sharon Stewart, and that's Off the Record.